Sacred Heart College is committed to stimulate and empower the young minds through holistic education to accomplish the objectives of light shines in the darkness. The college is located in the outskirts of Chalakudi city in Thrissur district and was established in the year 1980 as a junior college with pre-degree courses and was upgraded to a first grade status in 1991. SH is an institution managed by the Alvernia Province of Franciscan Clarist Congregation, affiliated to the University of Calicut and aided by the Government of Kerala. The lush green gardens and well-designed infrastructure provide the perfect ambience for learning, sharing and development of the students. The college was re-accredited by the NAC with A+ grade in 2017. Presently, we are offering 9 undergraduate and 6 postgraduate courses. The Department of Mathematics is one among the most vibrant departments of Sacred Heart College, Chalakudi, with the most dynamic vision. In 2013, the department initiated BSc program with Statistics and Computer Science as subsidiary subjects. The department has been elevated to postgraduate department in 2014. All the faculties in their separate fields of study in the subject have good academic profiles and potential, which every student rightly take in so that they get inspired and guided to become a quality individual with a good academic outlook in mathematics.
Welcome all to the second day of the webinar celebrating women in mathematics. Is this audible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
For the second day, our topic is Life and Contribution of Mariam Mirza Khani, and the speaker is Dr. Nikita Agrawal, Associate Professor, IISER Bhopal. I request Dr. Nitin PJ to introduce the speaker.
Good evening all. I welcome all of you to this webinar. Is this audible?
Somebody has not muted his mic.
Rochna Devi ma'am, could you please mute your mic? Okay, Nitin, you can start.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good evening all. I welcome all of you to this webinar for celebrating women in mathematics. I would like to inform you that event is sponsored by the state of May 12th initiative. It is an organization which brings together various events celebrating women in mathematics happening worldwide in the month of May. Our guest, Dr. Nigda Agarwal, is the coordinator from India of May 12 initiative. She is presently working as an associate professor in the Department of Mathematics at IISER Bhopal. She has completed her PhD and post-graduation from the University of Houston. Her research interests are dynamical systems and ergodic theory. She has published various papers in reputed international journals. Also, Dr. Nigda Agarwal is an executive committee member of the organization Indian Women and Mathematics. On behalf of Sacred Heart College Chalakudi, I welcome Dr. Nigda ma'am to this webinar. Nigda ma'am, you can start.
Hello, Dr. Nidhin. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. First of all, I thank the organizers of this event, especially Dr. Nidhin, for contacting me and making this happen. It's an important day for women in mathematics, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the person who is responsible for such a day to be celebrated worldwide. So let me go to the next slide. So May 12, so unfortunately for some reasons I could not speak yesterday. So so probably it's a delayed celebration of May 12, which was yesterday. So, but nevertheless, let me tell you why May 12 is important. It's celebrated now as International Women in Mathematics Day. It happens to be Mariam Mirzakhani's birthday, and it's recognized to celebrate women in mathematics all over the world. It started last year, and last year more than 100 events all over the world were organized, and most of these events were having participants between 20 and 100, but there were several other events where there were more than 200 participants. Few of them were also organized in India. And this initiative, May 12 initiative, is coordinated by several math associations across the globe, including Europe, USA, Africa, India, Chile, and Iran. So in India, the Math Association for Women is named as Indian Women and Mathematics. So there's a website. You can go to this website and also browse through the activities that are organized all through the year through this organization. And it's funded by National Board for Higher Mathematics, NBHM. This initiative is funded by the Committee for Women in Mathematics. I think Nidhin spoke about it in his introductory speech. And below you see the website for May 12 initiative, wherein you will see several information about the activities that go on, what are the events that are being organized this year, and the present event is also listed there. So our talk is also mentioned there. So let me now come to the life and talking about Mariam Mirzakhani. She is a Fields medalist, which is like Nobel Prize in Mathematics. She won it in 2014 along with 3 other mathematicians. The citation for her Fields Medal reads out as follows. Mariam Mirzakhani is awarded the Fields Medal for her outstanding contributions to the dynamics and geometry of Riemann surfaces and their moduli spaces. And below you see a picture of 4 Fields medalists of that year, and Mariam Mirzakhani is sitting in the rightmost, as you see on this picture. So in this talk, I'm going to talk about, give you a glimpse of her life and talk about some aspects of her research. This talk is only going to be a brief overview of what she has done. Of course, it cannot do justice to the contributions that she has made, but I will give you a highlight of into her life and research. And towards the end, I will give few references which you can go to, and if you want to know more about what she has achieved. So apart from the Fields Medal, she has won several awards and honors. I will just read out 2 and go over the others. So if you look at the second bullet, she had given an invited talk at the International Congress of Mathematicians, which was held at Hyderabad, India in 2010. And the last one, which is quite interesting, that one of the asteroid is named after her. So this was done recently. And of course, she has several other awards and honors which are given to her. So let us move on to her childhood. She was born on May 12, 1977 in Iran. And her childhood was spent in Tehran during the Iran-Iraq war, which was during 80 to 88. Initially in her middle school, she did not do well in mathematics, and she was actually told by her then teacher that she does not have mathematical talent, which seems quite surprising today. At that time, she thought that she would be an author. A change in teacher in the second year, Mariam flourished mathematically. So teachers, I see that a lot of teachers are participating in this session. So all of us have a very important role in any student's life, and I think what you see in this slide and what Mariam has achieved today, she has given some, she has recognized the contribution of that one teacher who basically changed her course of life. So she took part in Olympiad, and along with other peers, but also her lifelong friend, who is Zoya Beheshti, who is also a professor in the US. They broke into what was once considered a boys-only bastion. They were selected to represent Iran in the International Mathematical Olympiad. And Mariam won a gold medal in 1994, which was held in Hong Kong, and she scored 41 out of 42. In 95, again, she participated, and the Olympiad was held at Toronto, Canada, and she won a gold medal again, but this time she got a perfect score. So below you see two pictures. On the left, it's a group of friends, and on the right there is Zoya Beheshti, her friend, and Mariam on the right, as you see the picture. So already you can see in the picture on the right that Mariam was fun-loving. So let us now talk about her early education, which was at Sharif University, Tehran. She did her bachelor's from there between 95 to 99. And by that time, she had already published 3 papers, out of which 2 were in graph theory. She enjoyed problem solving and participating in informal reading groups with her peers. So I will read out 2 excerpts from interviews with 2 of her, one of them is her collaborator and others a friend. So the left one, Kasta Rawti, who is a professor of mathematics at Toronto. Her papers were published when she was an undergrad. Pretty funny story that she was asked to referee somebody else's grant proposal when she was an undergrad because she was already building a reputation based on her results. And Kia Dalili, a friend, has to say that we played a lot of soccer. Mariam always said she wants to come and play. The only girl who actually ever did. She came up and argued with the person to let her in and play the game. So she was not just involved in studies in academics, but also loved to play, which is quite essential for every student. So her later education, which is doctorate, PhD from Harvard University in 2004. Her advisor is Curtis McMullen, who is also a field medalist, and he won this medal in 1998. Her thesis was 130 pages long, and it was titled Simple Geodesics on Hyperbolic Surfaces and Volume of the Moduli Space of Curves. And she was awarded the Leonard M. and Eleanor B. Blumenthal Award for her thesis, which was judged as outstanding. So later part of this talk will be talking about her work, and you will see some of these terms like simple geodesics, hyperbolic surfaces there. So I will try to explain what these terms mean. So below you see what Mariam has to say about the time and interaction she had with Kurt, her PhD supervisor, and what Curtis has to say about his interaction with Mariam. So I'm reading out what Mariam has to say. Working with Kurt had a great influence on me, though now I wish I had learned more from him. By the time I graduated, I had a long list of raw ideas that I wanted to explore. So by the time she had finished her PhD, she already had a lot of ideas that she wanted to work on later on, and she actually worked and published those. And what Curtis has to say about Mariam is she had a sort of daring imagination. She would formulate in her mind an imaginary picture of what must be going on, then come to my office and describe it. At the end, she would turn to me and say, "Is it right?" I was always flattered that she thought I would know. So let me move on to the next slide, which is about her career. Soon after her PhD, she was offered assistant professorship at the Princeton University, which was equipped with a Clay Research Fellowship. This was in 2004. During the fellowship, she produced several profound papers on curved surfaces, and they were published in leading journals in mathematics. And by 2009, she was a professor at the Stanford University, where she was till the end. As per www.mathscinet.ams.org, Mariam has published a total of 23 papers and has been cited 479 times already. But I want to say that these numbers are not important. Her ideas and imagination in her work cannot be measured through the number of papers and the citations that I have just said. That's how deep her work is. Coming to her family, her parents Ahmed Mirza Khani, who is an electrical engineer, and Zahara Haqiqi. While at Princeton, Mariam met John, a Czech national who was a postdoctoral teaching fellow then, and they married in 2005. Jon is a professor in the Department of Mathematics at Stanford University, and they have a daughter, Anahita, who was born in 2011. On the right, on the top, you see Mariam with her parents, and on the bottom, you see Mariam with her husband and her daughter. And the bottom picture is actually during the event when she was given the Fields Medal. So now coming to her work and legacy. So I will give a brief overview of 3 of her main works. And I will try to explain to you the broad area in which she worked, and also applications that are accessible, that I feel will be accessible to this audience. So her research area is basically algebraic topology, geometry, and ergodic theory. And her main theme is understanding the geometry and dynamics on hyperbolic surfaces. She has proved several path-breaking results in her PhD thesis, which were published in top journals such as Journal of American Math Society, Inventionist, and Annals of Mathematics. So I want to take your attention to the two pictures that are there on the top of this slide. So if you look at the left slide, you see three surfaces, and these are all two-dimensional surfaces, even though they look three. So they're pictures in 3 dimensions, but they're two-dimensional surfaces. Why? Because if you take a point on the surface and you look at it, the surface locally, it looks like a plane. It's two-dimensional. Okay. So you can imagine that the one on the back is spherical. So let's say it's the surface of the earth. So when we see the space around us, it's actually a plane, right? So these are all two dimensions. So in two dimensions, these are the only 3 surfaces that you can have. That is a theorem. And the classification is as follows. The one at the back is spherical geometry. The one in the middle is what is called, which is a cylinder, it's called flat geometry. And the one in the front is called hyperbolic geometry. And in the bracket, you see a positive sign, 0 and minus. Positive refers to positively curved. So curvature is positive. Middle one is 0, so it's flat. There's no curvature. The front one is hyperbolic. It's negatively curved. Okay. Now let's look at the picture on the right. I'm going to focus on the front picture, which is hyperbolic geometry, which is basically the broad research area of Mariam. So if you look at this picture, it's you see 3 dots on this picture, and you see that I've connected these 3 dots. So if you look at the connection between dots, it looks like a curved line, right? It's not a straight line. And you won't have a straight line on hyperbola. You will have a part of the hyperbola. So this means that if you take any 2 points on the hyperbola with the given geometry, which is hyperbolic geometry, and you look at the line of shortest distance, you get a piece of hyperbola. So now you join any 2 points, any 2 pair of points, and what you now get is a triangle. So the distinct property of this triangle is if you add the angles, interior angles of this triangle, the sum is less than 180, as opposed to what you see in a plane. In a plane, the line of shortest distance is a straight line. And if you draw a triangle, the sum of interior angles is equal to 180 degrees. So in hyperbolic geometry, the sum of interior angles of a triangle comes out to be less than 180. Just for your information, if you look at the spherical geometry, which is at the back in the first picture on the left, there the sum of angles of a triangle where the edges are lines of shortest distance, you get angle to be greater than 180 degrees. So that is the distinction, one of the distinctions of these 3 geometries. And the line of shortest distance, shortest path, it's called a geodesic. So you saw the term geodesic in the title of the thesis of Mariam. So geodesic is the line which is shortest path. So in a plane, on a piece of paper, shortest path is a straight line. So geodesics are straight lines. But on hyperbola, the geodesics are pieces of hyperbola. Okay. So hyperbolic geometry appears in nature Um, you see several examples on the bottom, and it has also inspired artists such as MC Escher. On the left, you see coral reefs. You can already imagine that there are negatively curved surfaces there. Lettuce leaves. Third one is a circle, is called Circle Limit 3. It's by Escher. And on the rightmost, you see sodalite. I'm sorry. So now let me come to discussing three important works of Mariam. The first one is about counting the simple closed curves. So let me first explain to you the picture that you see on this slide. So you see a double torus. Okay, so I want you to imagine this double torus in this way. So you take two donuts and you join them. Okay, and that's how I want you to visualize this picture. So these black circles that you see in the middle are the holes of the donut, and it's so this is in 3 dimensions, right? So when you join two donuts, you have a picture in 3 dimensions. But when you look at the surface of the donut, it's 2-dimensional. Why? Because locally it looks like a plane, right? So now you see 4 curves on this picture. The red curve is a single curve. It's just one complete curve. You can just trace out how red is going. Then there are 3 more curves, which are 3 blue curves. Okay. Now they are all simple. Why? So what are simple curves? Simple curves are the curves which do not intersect themselves. So if you look at the blue curves, it's easy to see that they don't intersect themselves, right? So by the way, remember that there is on every curve, you see a solid part and you see a dotted part, okay? So the dotted part is at the back of the surface, which you can't see. So it's for the benefit of the person who is looking at the picture that how the curve is looking at the back. So at the back, you should imagine the dotted curve, and on the front, you should imagine the solid curve. Okay. So all 3 curves, all 4 curves are simple because they don't intersect themselves. Of course, for the red curve, you see that at certain places, the dotted curve is intersecting with the solid curve. But that's not a problem because the dotted curve is at the back and the solid curve is at the front. So there's no intersection. Okay. Now, these are simple curves and they are also closed. Why closed? Because there are no loose ends. If you look at the curve, it comes no matter where you start. You take any starting point, you come back to the starting point, right? So it's called a closed curve. So we are going to be in the space of simple closed curves. Simple means not intersecting with themselves. Closed means there are no loose ends. It closes up. Okay. So there was a theorem by Delsarte, Hubbard, Selberg, and Margulis, which is called prime number theorem on hyperbolic surface. So this picture that you see on the top is actually an example of a hyperbolic surface. Okay. So what they proved was that the number of closed curves of length at most L. So now you might wonder, how should one talk about length here, length of a curve? So I want to look at a curve as a curve which is of shortest length. Okay. So in the geometry, whatever is given on the surface, I want to look at the curve which is the shortest curve. So if at all there is a room to make it shorter, I'll make it shorter. Okay. So you can imagine that you join 2 donuts, you take a piece of thread and then you start winding it up, okay, in some fashion. So it's possible that at some place it's loose. So you don't want it to be loose. You want it to be really packed. So you can imagine it like this. Of course, what I've said is not precise, but that's what one can do. Okay. So what they proved was the number of closed curves of length at most L is like exponential of L e to the L by L asymptotically, meaning as L goes to infinity. So that means if the length of curve becomes really large and you count all the closed curves, whether intersecting or not intersecting, they become asymptotic to e to the L by L. So the growth is an exponential growth. Okay. And it's called prime number theorem because this formula looks like the number of primes less than or equal to L, right? And what Mariam Mirzakhani proved was that on a hyperbolic surface X of genus G, by genus we mean number of holes. So in the picture that you see, there are 2 holes. So this surface has genus 2. She proved that the number of simple closed curves, now she is not just counting, not counting all the closed curves. She is only counting curves which are simple. That means they don't intersect themselves. Number of simple closed curves of length at most L is like a constant Cx times L to the power 6g minus 6, where the constant Cx depends on the surface X in a nice way. So I'm not going to go into how the constant depends on X, but it depends only on the geometry of the surface X. And you can see that even though the number of closed curves, all the closed curves is exponential, the number of simple closed curves is only polynomial asymptotically as L becomes really large, which means that simple closed curves are rare on the surface. If I pick a curve which is of really large length, then it's expected to be intersecting, right? Because simple closed curves are only polynomial. So you should differentiate between exponential growth and polynomial growth, right? That's what is happening here. Let us move on to her next work, which is another proof of a conjecture by Witten. Another because there was another proof. The first proof was by Kontsevich in 1992, for which he was awarded the Fields Medal in 1998. Mariam, in her work, obtained several asymptotic formulas, one of which was to compute the frequencies of different types of simple closed curves. Now you understand what simple is, what a closed curve is, right? So let me take you to the picture on the bottom. It's the same surface, but look, I'm looking at it differently. Now the holes are, you see 2 holes and you see 4 curves, right? 2 green curves, 1 blue curve and 1 red curve. Green curves are solid. That means they are on the top of the surface. Both blue and red curves have a solid portion and a dotted portion. So dotted portion is at the back, solid is at the front. So if you look at the green curve and imagine you cut along this green curve, any of the green curves, what happens is the part of the donut splits, but it doesn't split into 2 disconnected pieces, right? Whereas, and same happens if you cut along the blue curve, right? So it's like putting a spoon on the donut, avoiding the center, right? The hole. So it doesn't break into 2 pieces if you do it like that. Whereas if you look at the red curve and you cut along the red curve, then you get two disjoint pieces, two disconnected pieces of the surface, right? So the blue and the green curves are called non-separating curves, which means that they don't separate the surface, whereas the red curve is called a separating curve because it separates the surface. So you can classify curves on a surface into two categories. One is non-separating, which is green and blue curve, and other is separating, which is red curve. Okay. So what Maria proved is given in the third bullet. You can read it. On a genus 2 surface, a sufficiently long simple closed geodesic is 6 times more likely to be non-separating than separating, meaning that the non-separating curves occur on a surface 6 times more than separating ones. So you can draw 6 times more green and blue curves than red curves. And this is also asymptotic, meaning it's a result when you make the length of the curves really large. Okay. So this is just one of the results that she obtained in this work. I'm not going to talk about other works, other results that she obtained in this work. Okay. So finally, I will talk about her work, which is called a magic wand theory. So it's a massive article of over 200 pages, which was written by Eskin and Mirzakhani, and later with Mohammadi in a different paper. They proved the famously known magic wand theorem. It's called magic wand theorem because it led to resolution of several unsolved mathematical problems. And one of the applications of this theorem is what is called an illumination problem. And this problem was posed in 1950s by Strauss. So let me pose this problem here. The problem goes as follows. Imagine a room with mirrored walls. As the light ray hits the wall, which is a mirror, it reflects back at the same angle as the angle of incidence. So imagine you're sitting in a room, you imagine that light travels, it hits the wall, there is a mirror there. So the angle at which it hits the wall, it exits the wall at the same angle. Okay. So the angle of reflection is same as angle of incidence. Now, if a candle is placed at some location in the room, the question is, will it illuminate every other point in the room? Now, how will illumination happen? So you have a candle, the light ray from the candle will go to the wall, will come back and so on, right? So wherever this light ray is crossing the room, that point is going to get lit. So it's an eventual process that we are talking about, right? It's not happening immediately. So if you place a candle, it takes some time for it to illuminate the entire room. Okay. So the question is that will every point in the room be illuminated? So there is a counter examples for the last statement, which was two examples of polygonal rooms which look like polygons. So I will take your attention to the picture on the bottom. On the left, it's a room example by Tokarsky in 1995. It's a 26-sided polygonal room. And on the right, you see an example by Castro in 1997, and it's 24-sided polygonal room, which is an improvement of Tokarsky example. And all the techniques that Tokarsky used in his work were applicable to Castro's example as well. So what is the counter example? Both of them proved the following. So you can see two dots in either of the polygons, right? So let us focus on one of the polygons. So imagine I place a candle on one of the dots, any one of the dots. Then what they proved was that every point in the room will be illuminated except for the other dot. Okay, so there are two dots. You place the candle on one of the dots, every point in the room gets illuminated except for the other dot. And same happens vice versa. Okay, so what they proved was that there is a single point which is not illuminated if you place it at this position, and they didn't talk about any other points. This is the only result that they proved. Okay. So one of the applications of this work, which Mariam proved, is a solution to this illumination problem. But before going to the solution, let me give you some background of what is called a translation surface. So let's look at the picture on the top in the left. So you see a donut, it's called a torus, right? And there is a hole in the middle. You see two curves, one is red, other is green. Again, the green one is sitting on the top. You can see it completely, whereas A has a portion on the front and a portion on the back, which is dotted. So now imagine that you cut the donut along A and you elongate it. You bring these pieces out. If you do that, what you get is a cylinder, and the curve B is now become a straight line, and this curve A is now on the edges of the cylinder, right? The circumference at the ends. Now you imagine you cut along the curve B and you open it up. So if the donut is hollow, what's going to happen is that if you cut along B and you open it, you get a square or a rectangle. I've drawn a square where the horizontal edges are B and the vertical edges are A, and they're color coded. Now you can go back to this process and do it in the reverse order. So you take a square, you look at the color sides with same color, you join them. So you first join B, you get a cylinder, then you join A, you get a back the donut, which is called a torus, genus 1, right? And the bottom picture, you see a double torus, which is joining two donuts, and on the right you see an octagon. So you can obtain a double torus using the same process as we did before on an octagon, and I have also the edges are color coded, so you know which edges you will have to join together. Okay, so if you join it properly, what you get is this double donut, and I've also shown the curves that you see. So what happens to these edges on the donut, on the double donut, double torus, right? So you can see it here. So let's not go too much into the bottom picture, but you can do this to any hyperbolic surface. To any hyperbolic surface, you can make it into, you can write it as a union of polygons with certain identifications of sides. Identification meaning assigning them same colors. Okay. So what is a translation surface? It's a finite union of polygons which a choice of pairing of parallel sides of equal length, right? That's what we have done in these two pictures. Using Mariam's work, Levere, Montiel and Weiss proved that if you take any such surface, translation surface M, there are only finitely many points in M which are not illuminated by a given point in M. So what you see in Tokarsky and Castro's example was precisely this, right? but something less, because there they only took 2 points, right? Here they are saying that no matter on a translation surface, wherever you place your candle, there'll be only finitely many points in the room which will not be illuminated by that candle. Okay. So if you come back to our original illumination problem, imagine a polygon room, a room which is like a polygon, and where each interior angle is a rational multiple of pi. Okay. So in the octagon example, every angle is a rational multiple of pi. So you can imagine a polygonal room which looks like this. Then no matter where the candle is placed, only at most finitely many locations in the room will not be illuminated, right? Because when you take a polygonal room where each angle is a rational multiple of pi, you can think of it as a translation surface. On a translation surface, you know this property that only at most finitely many points are not going to be illuminated, right? So this was about her, a glimpse of her work. Now I will talk about the last leg of her life, where she battled with cancer, and she had cancer even prior to Fields Medal. I think it was detected in 2013, and she won Fields Medal in 2014. And she lost the long battle with cancer, against cancer, on 14th July 2017. Mirzakhani has left researchers with plenty of ideas and thoughts to build upon. Her novel contributions directly and indirectly to several areas of mathematics and physics are still unfolding. And Zahra Guya, who is a member in charge of the Executive Committee of the International Commission on Mathematical Instruction, this is what she has to say, which is interesting to read. Kasra Rafi, we spoke about him in the beginning of this talk. Kasra Rafi wrote in 2016. He wrote that in 2016, he and Mariam walked from her house to Stanford's mathematics department to attend a lecture delivered by Bromo. In a time that Mariam's cancer spread to her bones and liver, and she was in harsh pain, knowing that the time of her flight to eternity is very near. It was amazing that even in that situation, she restlessly walked to listen to the talk. Kasra said they had to stop every few minutes along the walk so that she could lie down on a bench to rest. So this explains how passionate Mariam was about mathematics, even in the last times. On the right, you see a picture of Mariam, who is also known as a doodler, and she's sitting on the floor and drawing pictures on this paper. Mariam's contributions are recognized through medals, awards, and also there is a sculpture at the National Library of Archive of the Islamic Republic of Iran in Iran, which you see on the left. On the rightmost is a tweet by Iranian's president when Mariam won the Fields Medal. And he said that congrats to Mariam Mirzakhani on becoming the first ever woman to win the Fields Medal, making us Iranians very proud. I'm sure there are several other fellowships and awards under her name. I will list out two. Mariam Mirzakhani Prize in Mathematics, which was formerly named the National Academy of Sciences Award in Mathematics, and it was renamed in 2018. And this is given for exceptional contributions to The Mathematical Sciences by a mid-career mathematician. Second award is by Australian Math Society, and it's called the Mariam Mirza Khan Award, and it's to support international female students who are pursuing a postgraduate degree in mathematics in Australia. And I think if you search the internet, there'll be lots and lots of awards, fellowships, which will be under her name now. So coming to the end of my presentation, these are few references. Images have been taken from various sources on the internet. The second one is an article that myself, Professor Ridhisha at JNU, and Professor Geeta Venkatraman at the Ambedkar University, Delhi, we wrote on Mariam Mirza Khani, the master artist of curved surfaces. It was published in Resonance Journal of Science Education. It's freely available online. You can go and to see more about her life and work. Second one, it was published in the Notices of American Math Society, AMS. The third one was published in Bhavana Mathematics magazine in January 2018 by Jayadev Atreya. And I will take your attention to the box on the bottom. There is a movie by Zala Films called Secrets of the Surface, the Mathematical Vision of Mariam Mirza Khani, which is available for free screening. So you can register at the link that is given below, and you will receive a link by email for a free screening at the date you choose till May 15th. So you have only a few days. On May 15th, this thing will go away. So if you want to, it's a 1 hour long movie, and you will really enjoy it. It talks about again her life, her work, interview with several of her friends, family, and also collaborators. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy this movie. So I recommend that you go and register to this movie. So I will stop here. I will request I will first thank the organizers for making this happen, and to take an initiative of celebrating this day. And I will now request the organizers to take over.
Hello everyone. I myself am Amala Mary George, Assistant Professor at Department of Mathematics, Sacred Heart College, Chalakudi. I take this opportunity to thank Dr. Nikita Agarwal for spending her valuable time to present the session. Indeed, the presentation was very informative, and we all came to know about the importance of the day May 12th and the life and works of the woman behind the reason for celebrating this day, Mariam Mirza Khani. Thank you so much for giving us a brief but beautiful and colorful insight to her works. You made us realize or understand the problems in a very beautiful way. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would also like to thank all the participants present here for their wholehearted cooperation and for joining this webinar. On behalf of entire team of Sacred Heart College Chalakudi, we thank everyone. The link to the feedback form is posted in the WhatsApp group and also in the chat box. Once you submit the feedback form, then e-certificate will be mailed to your email address. So kindly fill the feedback form carefully. So thank you one and all.
Thank you all for joining with us. See you in our next webinar. Thank you. Avanti, 4:30.
It's a very nice presentation. We know about the women's mathematics. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much.